Good morning. It's a beautiful day in New York City. I was just told that my youngest grandson successfully completed his first year of medical school. There's nothing like family, except what can disturb all of our families: corporate greed that is unending and is making people feel like there's inflation. There's no inflation, folks. In fact, food and oil are not even part of the inflation index. The inflation index takes in everything else. Housing, sure, but not food and not oil. And if you look at wages according to Paul Krugman, they're keeping pace. The problem is corporate greed and self-interest. They like the high profits they're making. Those corporate tax cuts that Trump put in and will make permanent, they like that lifestyle. Why do you think they're choosing Trump in big business? They love it. They're addicted to the money. And the market? It should be going up. There's 1.1 trillion bucks out there through the Inflation Reduction Act, which is really an act that gave money to all the states for use on infrastructure projects. I would say to you guys out there, if you have citizen ballots, why don't you write a citizen ballot to utilize the billions that are in your states to now improve your highways, your railroads, your bridges, your schools? The money's there. Only 7% of it has been used. I'd find out how much money my state's been given and how you'd like to use it. And don't wait for the state legislatures to tell you when and where and how they're going to use it. You propose what you think is necessary. That's what we, the people, can do. That's how we can have power. And we should, because partisan politics, greed and self-interest again, are what's keeping the money back and the jobs from flowing, and you from knowing that inflation has absolutely been curtailed. You look at the facts, and we don't have inflation. I believe in Paul Krugman. And if you want to curb corporate greed and self-interest, well, there are about 4 or 5 things I can think of that can help that route. One is antitrust. Every business in America is a monopoly. Sure, they make profits, and they have no competition. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if they fix profits and they fix pricings. It's happened before, happens again. What else do? They don't care about you or me. They hire child labor. It's against the law. They do it anyway. They don't give out pensions. They should. They used to. It can be enforced. Antitrust can enforce laws. OSHA can enforce safety. The Labor Relations Board can make wages equitable, unionize everyone. And if you want to break up partisan silos in America, well, I've been espousing national service for over 10 years. Doesn't have to be you go into the military, though I have one grandson who is now in the military. But you can go into national service and we can have a true mixing of Americans. Rich or poor, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter your color, your ethnicity, your religion, we all mix. And you know what? If we mix, we break down those political silos and people are able to think about the other. And we won't have so much corporate greed. Oh, and then there's the graduated income tax for CEOs, big earners, the wealthy, and for corporations going back to 28%. Not like what Trump wants to do, which is to make these tax cuts permanent. No, sirree. Let's get some money into the country so people don't feel that there's inflation when there isn't. And with taxation comes benefits for all of us. So think about it and add it to your citizen ballots and demand that the IRA money that's been dispensed be utilized for your benefit in your state. And what else do I think is greed, self-interest, and corruption? The South African ANC. The Economist just did an expose, and boy, it led me to believe and link up. Why is South Africa penalizing Israel and saying the Israelis are as equally culpable as Hamas when they're a sovereign nation defending themselves? Well, it now looks pretty obvious. South Africa's best bud for the ANC is Russia. Russia owns a manganese mine, and through all kinds of dark money, the ANC is suddenly out of debt and has probably been beholden to Russian billionaires for a long time. That's one reason the Global South says nothing about the war in Ukraine. They should really be after Hamas so that they can help the Palestinian people, but they're not. Instead, being best buds with Russia because Russia has bailed them out using dark money, and it's through a Russian oligarch that America has sanctioned. Their connection with Russia and most likely Iran is like this. Because who else would want to see Israel in the dock? They got a reason, and the ANC is glad to comply because they need the money. And they're getting it big time so that they can win the next election in South Africa on their terms. So, not so hard to understand. It's a win-win for greed, self-interest, and corruption. Oh, and when I think of corruption again, in our own country, we got corruption too. Citizens United has opened the floodgates to corporate greed and corporate lobbying. It was the worst decision the Supreme Court has ever made. As we know, corporations don't bleed. And as we also know from that prophetic film in 1976, Network, when it was declared, "There are no sovereign nations, there are only corporate nations. Corporations own the world, and there's no boundary for their monies." Take care, everyone, and have a lovely day.